Alright, let's chat about how you can better handle feedback. Being a designer, one thing you really need to be comfortable with is receiving feedback. Why is this? I think it's because design exists in such a grey environment. And by grey, I mean that there is simply no absolutes when you're dealing with humans, when you're dealing with people. And it's because of this greyness that working in isolation neglects a whole range of questions and possibilities that kind of help to refine and filter and push ideas forward. And feedback is really a great vehicle for having these possibilities push their way into a design process, whatever that design may be. With that in mind, one of the most difficult skills to actually learn as a designer is how to receive and handle feedback. There's nothing more frustrating than working in a team where feedback isn't part of the culture. To have people hesitate and shy away from feedback, unwilling to share their thoughts and ideas. It not only holds the team back, but it holds the product back. And it also holds them back as individuals. When you're not comfortable with feedback, you tend to silo yourself into this world where you are either right or wrong, and you are always wanting to be right. But this is so dangerous because literally no one can always be right when it comes to design. And I say right because there really are no right answers here. Design is a huge, expansive spectrum, not a binary system. So how do you solve this? How do you get yourself and your friends and your colleagues out of this siloed approach to design? One of the best tips I can give you is to get feedback early and to continue to receive feedback often. Why is this so important? Well, think about it like this. People tend to take feedback more personally the more they are invested in a solution. The more invested they are, the more personal that feedback becomes. On top of this, no one enjoys negative feedback. And it's a vicious cycle. To start with, the person may be scared to ask for feedback because they are afraid that the feedback will be negative. So they want to kind of keep working on that design until it's just perfect so that they kind of negate that negative feedback altogether. But all that ends up happening is they become over-invested in that solution. And by the time the feedback rolls around, they are too attached and thus they are very easily offended when someone else's views or opinions are introduced. The best way to avoid this downward spiral is to simply ask for feedback early and often. Don't get overly attached to a single solution. And if questions or concerns arise, don't dwell on them in isolation. Go and ask for someone else's opinion right then and there before you get too invested. Another thing to remember is that negative feedback sucks. No one enjoys getting negative feedback. It always stings, but try not to take it personally. Always keep the goals of the solution in mind, and always assume that the person giving you feedback is doing the same. Remember, if you defend yourself against feedback, expect that person who's providing the feedback to fight for that feedback or defend their feedback. If you're defensive and fight back, expect them to be the same. In saying that, there is a subtle difference between defending something and simply asking for clarification or trying to come to a mutual understanding. If you feel there has maybe been a misunderstanding which is influencing their feedback in a certain way, then I think it's fine to seek further clarification. Just be honest and open and respectful in doing so. People often put a lot of thought and effort into providing feedback, in putting their own views and ideas out there, just as you have done with your design. So keep this in mind when you're trying to understand their position. At the end of the day, you should be in an environment which trusts the designer. It should be your call. Feedback sessions should not be an opportunity for a select few people to push their own agendas and opinions on other people with the hopes of making everyone conform. Take feedback for what it is. A vehicle for broadening your horizons, for offering an alternative point of view, for expanding the context. In the end, it's your call. And that's not to say that you should ignore everyone's feedback, because in my opinion, that would make you a pretty bad designer. But what you should do is be selective in what influences your design. You shouldn't simply ignore everyone that disagrees with you and take on board those who agree with you. You should be open to learning, adapting, and growing yourself and the design. You can't react to everyone's feedback all the time, but you can take certain aspects of that feedback on board as you move forward. It's this skill which really does separate the mediocre designers from the great designers. Alright, thanks for watching. If you have anything to add to this topic, please do reach out and leave a comment. And thanks to YouTube's new algorithm, apparently content creators have to start begging for likes. So if you found this video at all useful, please do leave a like because I think it helps me out a lot. Alright, thanks for watching and I will see you next time. Also, here's a little bonus. I recorded this whole video earlier today and accidentally left the camera on time-lapse. So here's an awesome time-lapse of this whole thing taking place.